When I started learning animation 8 years ago, something I used to do a lot was reference very basic animation exercises to understand what animation was even about. I did them for about 3 years, and all the while I did understood the very basics of how to animate. I felt like I really haven't gotten any better at animating anything at all. All this to say that maybe I got really stuck in trying to understand basics without no real application. Don't get me wrong, the reason why most of these exercises are so simple is because they use something called the keys principle. It's about keeping things simple as you can, because as animators we have to think about many things while animating. Checking if the drawing is solid, that the movement is accurate, that the character is on model, that we are following the principles, etc. All that thinking at the same time, especially when you're just starting out, can be daunting and not give you an accurate result when learning. That's why the bouncing ball, the pendulum, the random floor sack carrying stuff works to teach you without worrying about other things like your drawing's quality or other aspects that might distract you. However, if you, like me, feel like no matter how much you practice like this, you are not seeing much improvement, I have the solution. Well, this rather came to me as something I had been noticing many animators who share their process learning animation on YouTube doing themselves, and I am happy to see it, because it is a way that although can be a bit tough at the beginning, it can yield better results when you have enough determination to keep at it and not give up. So, a basic rundown of how to learn animation right now is this. Find your reference. When I say reference, I am talking about that animation shot that you really loved from a movie, anime, or if that is your thing, live action footage. Maybe you liked it because the effects look really good or because the character acting was something you wanted to replicate. Talking about replications, we will be going through that. But first, one thing. Since I will be referencing an anime shot, I use this page called Sakugaboru to find animated shots of pretty much everything. It is an amazing resource because not only you can reference by anime or animated production, but also by type of animation and by who animated what, so feel free to choose based on your interests and what makes you excited. Once you have the reference ready, which mine for this example, I will be using this head turn of Lloyd from Spy X Family animated by Si-yoon Kim. I find the movement very nice because it's simple and not a conventional head turn, but a head turn starting from the back until Lloyd is facing the camera and smiling. As you might have noticed, the shot is longer than this section, but my objective here is to grab exclusively what I liked and that I want to study from. In this case, the poses and timing for this specific head turn. If you want, you can try to do this from a longer shot, but I don't recommend it if you are just starting to learn this way, because even animating 3 seconds can take a while. Now that we have that settled, I downloaded this reference into my PC and opened it with a software called Keyframe MP2, which you can easily find. It is very useful because it lets you pin whatever video you have on top of your screen so you can easily draw at the same time with the reference. Plus, you can specifically see which frame you are on while using it. It's very cool. Having everything ready, what we're going to start doing is observing our reference, going through it frame by frame for a while to understand exactly what we are seeing. Here, I am taking some notes about the timing and where the pauses and recoveries happen, so when I am replicating it, I can remember key points of the reference. You don't have to take notes like I did, but observation is a very good skill to have when doing animation, so be very focused on taking these points of your reference in mind. Here are my final notes if you want to know what I wrote. With everything done there, we will finally start studying our reference. Yay! The gist of it is very simple, but the application is what can be tough to get into at first, but what really trains your eye as an animator. Maybe if you want, you could guess which drawings could be the keys and start from there, or maybe you go ahead and draw each frame straight ahead. Whatever place is best for you to start, the idea is to focus on exactly what you wanted to study, and do your best to replicate it. Like in my example, where I started by defining my keys and then working from my notes and the reference directly by adding my eases and recoveries appropriately. However, if you are up for a bigger challenge that will thoroughly test your observation skills, a harder version of this exercise is to heavily study your reference really hard and then take it away. What do I mean? That what you are going to do is to replicate your reference by memory. Imagine that you are now in charge of animating that shot. You are given a storyboard, in this case you made it yourself, roughly, and you have to animate the movement on screen. Overwhelming? I know, it is supposed to be challenging, but don't give up. This way of studying animation can be tough, but it really does improve the main aspect that makes your animations better, and that is understanding how things move more. I have to mention that the original person I heard this method from was from one of PRO Animator Gen BM's streams. Give their channel a check, they do amazing work. So now that you have this imaginary responsibility upon your shoulders, you just go ahead and do your best from what you observed. The positive parts of doing this is that you are forced to improve your observation skills drastically. You also get to attempt something that you want to do and is fun for you, but also you actively test your knowledge and how much you know with your results, because you have a clear comparison you can use to know what could have been done better in your application. As a plus, doing this gets you the experience of animating with a purpose. Experience, after all, is really good to learn anything. Something to note is that you probably will struggle at first to replicate without reference, and that is okay. Don't beat yourself up because of it. It's okay to struggle at first. Whenever you find yourself confused, feel free to check your reference again if it's necessary to refresh your memory. As you can see, my version of this Lloyd is entirely different from the one I made with the reference open, but that's okay because like this, I can see what I could have done better and see my success in getting the movement down. Ideally, after doing your study, regardless of what way you chose, that being using reference or not, you apply what you learned from it by doing your own thing, and if you are up to it, you can take note of those things you feel you can improve upon from your study and hone those aspects specifically. Maybe your arm anatomy needs more work so you can make that punch much cooler. Or maybe you struggle with head turns like me and need to study the head in different angles. Or even then, if you feel like your FX shapes are not that dynamic, you can focus on making studies about them. The main takeaway is that mythical deliberate practice is what actually makes you improve at anything you want, so don't forget to use it wisely. Anyway, that is all for this video. I hope I had explained that clearly. The good part of studying like this is that you don't get stuck in practice, so I hope too that maybe that had given you the motivation to make your studies more fun and interesting.